What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 4-game slate in the association. A nice little small slate for a Monday, Mike. I know that makes your matchups column a little bit later today. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing great. Got a little hike in today. Wrote my matchups. Kind of woke up early to knock it out here, and feeling pretty good. I'm gonna try to do no carbs and no alcohol at all until St. Patrick's Day after Vegas and just too much eating like crap. So feeling pretty good, energy wise. Ready to get this to the home stretch here.
Yeah, we've got I guess at this point it's about 7 more weeks of regular season NBA basketball, something like that. So it'll be a little bit of a sprint down the finish line here. Let's get into these games. 4 games on the docket, so it should be pretty quick to move through things today. Let's start with Toronto and Indiana. On the Toronto side, nothing really notable, just G Leaguers listed out here. Any notes that you have on Toronto? We'll get the return of RJ Barrett tonight.
Yeah, RJ Barrett sat out the last game. Bit of a surprise to see the Jordan Nwora start. Sorry, excuse me. He should be good to go. Not really too much to add. Obviously, Emmanuel Quickly's kind of heating up. We've seen Kelly Olynyk really kind of cutting the Acapulco, but yeah, pretty straightforward situation there. Really good matchup for Scotty Barnes. He's crushed this matchup before. Actually made him my matchups cover boy today. So we've seen the role growth, getting more post touches. And this game environment's really good. So we'll talk about these other game environments are potentially not great. Sacramento is pretty good, but the two middle games are just completely gross. So a game I definitely want to get into, and getting some Toronto pieces is something that is appetizing to me.
On the Indiana side, they're on the second night of back-to-back here after a nice win against Dallas yesterday. No Aaron Nesmith. He's still ruled out here, but no Tyrese Haliburton on the injury report at all, which is great to see kind of as the schedule gets more condensed here. No limitations coming out of the break. They do have a questionable tag on Jalen Smith along with some of the G League players here. Jalen Smith, all season long, you've noted you expect a questionable tag kind of the rest of the way here. So a little bit concerning there on the back-to-back, but what are your thoughts on the Pacers tonight?
Yeah, Jalen Smith's could get Q tag. We saw him 2 games ago, was available, but was only available in case of an emergency. Rick Kyle told us that 2 games ago. Comes back, basically gets his job back. So we'll see. Maybe there's a chance that they sit him out in an emergency to rest him, but he just has like a sore back, so he might play through it. We don't know, but they might want to give Isaiah Jackson minutes. So yeah, really tough to kind of play we always like to play backup centers who could get big minutes here in a good game environment. Tough thing to bet on here. Very unclear. Expect him to be active, but it might be a fake active. So that's tough. Now, not too much else to add. Halliburton's minutes have been really strong. The role hasn't been as good. His touch time's only 6 minutes per game for a guy with the assist that high. He's also not been as big on the potential assist. So his role's been a little bit worse, even factoring in the per minute stuff. So, I expect him to be in a pretty good spot. Raptors struggle against on-ball guards like that. And then Pascal Siakam revenge game, he's been playing pretty well. I mentioned this is a game I want to get into. The Raptors defense has been quite bad this year, and they are actually way worse on the road. Teams made have some trouble with the international travel there. So, yeah, again, I really like this game environment.
Detroit and the Knicks. On the Detroit side of things, they'll be without Marcus Sasser with a right knee contusion. He's out. It sounds like it's going to be at least a week. Suspension for Isaiah Stewart. He's still serving that. And then they're without their G Leaguers. So how do you expect to see the Pistons line up tonight?
Yeah, it should be the standard starting lineup of Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Simone Fontecchio, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duren. Should note, we've seen Cade not get big minutes, and we actually got some clarity on that from Monty Williams. He said that they are, what was the exact quote? Can't find it. Basically, they said they had a soft minutes limit on him. They're not going to play him a bunch. They're going to kind of ramp him up slow. So you got a pretty big spread on this game. So not too high hopes, despite how the Knicks are actually really struggling defensively. They've been one of the worst in the last few games here. That's kind of covers it. We saw no Marcus Sasser. That got Malachi Flynn back in the mix. Revenge game, brief revenge game for him. And then James Wiseman continues to kind of lock up the backup minutes there. And then Quentin Grimes also. We saw him play a lot. There was commentary from Monty Williams saying they will run him out there for longer stints, and he was almost normal Curious to see if he starts. They obviously kind of gave up a bit to get him. If that would bump Fontecchio out, I don't know, but still certainly expecting this group to start. But Grimes got talked up a bunch. His shot was way off. He was really, really short. You could tell his legs weren't quite there. But yeah, expecting him to pick up a pretty big piece. We'll see if that crunches Troy Brown a little bit. But yeah, not a great spot. I mentioned we just did a podcast. The Knicks are playing so slow right now. They're 89 pace over their last 5 games. So again, just a big spread, slow game. Pistons offense is pretty bad, so a pretty tough thing to get excited about for these guys.
Yeah, and obviously Asar Thompson foul trouble also kind of helps the Quentin Grimes minutes last game. So it'll be interesting to see what the range is that he settles in at ultimately, because him and Fontecchio fairly similar in terms of what they bring to the table, fairly similar targets for them to acquire at the trade deadline here in terms of giving up capital to go out and get them. So I'm interested to see how they break down the minutes on those guys. Wouldn't be surprised to see, though, if Quentin Grimes ends up kind of in the mid-20s fairly consistently from here on out. Knicks side of things, they're without OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson all listed out. No questionable tags here. What are your notes on the Knicks rotation?
Yeah, let's start with Isaiah Hartenstein. We saw him not hit his minutes limit 2 games ago. He voiced his frustrations in an article in the New York Post about that. But yeah, he was pretty much on target. He said he didn't want to go from kind of teens to 30, so they got him to 24 last game. Didn't really do much. Obviously, matchup sucks. The Celtics have really good interior defense. So yeah, a shot at upper 20s here. I think we saw last time he returned from this injury, it was a multiple game series, and then this is an aggravation for him with this right Achilles soreness. So expecting a cap. We saw him the Gary Hartman quote. We're going to see him play 44 one day. It's going to be a while before he's hitting 40. So I think he maybe has 30 in his range. Probably not. Matchups obviously really good despite Jalen Duren. The Pistons are pretty bad with interior defense still. So yeah, he could be on. I've looked at DFS pricing, but he's kind of on the table now that he has upper 20s in his range. Obviously, Jalen Brunson's playing insane basketball, 32 points per game this month. And then Dante DiVincenzo, not the best matchup here. We saw his minutes finally get curtailed a little bit in the last game. The Pistons allowed the 5th fewest catch and shoot points per game, despite being really bad on defense. And then, yeah, we're not really seeing a lot of Bojan. It's kind of been a little odd. We talked about this on the podcast that we just recorded as well. But yeah, looking like a normal rotation, we're not seeing like the crazy 40s consistently. And then the big spread again. Yes, not a great game environment overall.
Let's move to Brooklyn at Memphis. On the Brooklyn side of things, Ben Simmons listed questionable here with lower left leg soreness. They'll be without some of their G Leaguers as well, but Simmons the only real notable on the injury report. What are your expectations for Ben tonight?
Yeah, tough one to read. Kevin Ollie got a bunch of questions post game. They were trying to get clarity if it was a knee or a leg. So it's a leg thing. Anytime Ben Simmons is hurt, you would expect him to probably sit out a game. But it doesn't sound like it was much of a concern. They never really had a shot in this game here. So yeah, if you can't go, probably expecting Dennis Schroeder to move up to the starting lineup. He's been playing, pretty decent minutes off the bench. Pretty full role for a backup. So he'd probably play a lot. He seems like a Kevin Ollie kind of a player for on-ball defense, kind of controlling the tempo. So he would be playing a pretty good matchup against the Grizzlies, who struggle a little bit against perimeter players. And then you should mention Cam Thomas's minutes have been pretty solid. We were a little bit concerned about him not being a quote-unquote hunter, according to Kevin Ollie. And then obviously Mikal Bridges, Nick Claxton are playing a ton. Dorian Finney-Smith looks like he's going to continue to start here. Did benefit a little bit from Ben in the last game for sure. But yeah, and then Jalen Wilson's gone. They didn't really want to play Cam Johnson a bunch of minutes returning from injury. And they're also playing pretty big. We've seen a lot of Claxton and Day'Ron Sharpe covering like almost the full 48 in this time. Not all of it. But worth noting that Kevin Ollie is a little more bigger than what we saw from Jacques Vaughn.
Yeah, the UConn connections there. UConn's always played kind of big historically as well. Memphis side of things, the injury report is full without guys once again: Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, John Conchar, John Morant, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Marcus Smart. Thankfully, no questionable tags. We saw them get a little bit healthier kind of coming into the break. What are your expectations for Memphis tonight?
Yeah, it should be the same spot. We saw Zaire Williams play a pretty good bit in the starting lineup. It basically bumped Conchar down a notch. Still getting a lot of GG Jackson minutes. Lamar Stevens getting some backup center minutes. That looks like that's going to continue. You may notice, and if you were an injury report Shark, you may have noticed that Trey Jemison wasn't listed, I think, on the 5:30 report for this game, and then he got added as an out tag. So we luckily had no minutes for him. Might have missed that, but we'll be keeping an eye out if they add Trey Jemison as an out tag. After the game, Taylor Jenkins said that he only has 15 games left on his prorated 2A, but they do want to play him. So yeah, keep an eye on that. I think they're just saving it for the games they're going to sit Jaren Jackson. No probable tag for Jaren here. So yeah, and we saw Jake LaRavia return. He got talked up a little bit. So mostly seeing the same rotation. Again, this is disgusting how bad these two offenses are. Since Desmond Bane went down, the Grizzlies are dead last in offense. And the last 3 Nets games, they have an 85 offensive rating. They just look so bad. So yeah, just a nasty game environment reflected in pretty low team totals. And that's, I almost want to bet the under, but it's lined pretty well.
You had also mentioned last time out for the Grizzlies that Jordan Goodwin was on the last of his 10-day contract. What is the updated status on Jordan Goodwin?
Yeah, they actually got him in there, and they bumped out Jacob Gilliard. Thanks for reminding me on that one. So no more Short King. Was this still Winter? I forget the groundhog thing. But yeah, so he's gone. We'll see if Goodwin gets in there. Not really. If they have Derrick Rose, they're probably not going to play him. And actually, one more note I wanted to share. Taylor Jenkins called Jaren Jackson and Vince Williams his primary guys. And we've seen Vince have a really big role in his last – I need to do a better job of ciphering out my notes. 5.1 minutes of touch time in his last 5 games. The drives are up. He's been running the offense. And they said after the game, Jenkins said that Luke Kennard will be like the point guard only in name only. So it's the Vince Williams and Jaren Jackson offense. Jaren's role is ridiculous. Last 14 games, 36.5 usage rate, 15 shots off drives in his last game. 14 points in isolation last game. He has like a guard role for a guy who can block shots and do a lot of stuff. Jaren's role is like almost the best in the league right now. Pretty close. It's like top 10, I would say.
Let's move to Miami and Sacramento, the nightcap on this slate. Miami, a lot of suspensions due to the altercation with the New Orleans Hornets, so they'll be without Jimmy Butler, Thomas Bryant, Nikola Jovic. They also have some injury situations as well. They'll be without Josh Richardson for right shoulder dislocation. Right before we hopped on, or actually as we've been recording here, they've listed also Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero, both out as well. So pretty thin here. They will have Duncan Robinson available, listed with a left shoulder sprain. But who's left for the Miami Heat tonight as they go into Sacramento?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about 4 starters here. Duncan, I would say, is for sure starting now. Obviously, Caleb's for sure starting. Feel pretty confident Jaime Jaquez Jr. is starting. And then obviously Bam Adebayo will be the 4. As you mentioned, Jovic is suspended, no Jimmy Butler, and then ruling out Tyler Hero and Rozier. Rozier only did a little bit in practice yesterday from what I was seeing. And then Tyler Hero was doing media, but, ruled out. They got lucky because Caleb left the bench, Bam left the bench, Hero left the bench, and they could have suspended them. And I was like, okay, they're going to do we saw this before, like a couple years ago when they had to just
stagger.
Yep, exactly. Stagger the suspension. So I was like, are we going to get that today? But nope, Miami got a little lucky there. So the big surprise from a sicko standpoint was we didn't see any DeLon in the last game. Now with Jimmy gone, the guard's gone, he's got to be in there. And you would think he starts, not 100% on that, but he would be the favorite for me. They could go point Jaime, and they could just go bigger and roll with Haywood Highsmith. So I think those are kind of the 2 candidates besides the 2 other. I don't think they would really go with Alanis Williams. That would be a little of a gal brain. But I think those are kind of the 2 candidates, Highsmith or DeLon Wright.
Yeah,
besides the 4 obvious ones.
Yeah, and the matchup obviously with De'Aaron Fox playing as well as he is requires some defensive attention. So if it's not DeLon Wright, it's got to be Highsmith because he's the only guy that I think they would trust to kind of put him on De'Aaron Fox. So, but we could get really condensed rotation minutes here. How many bodies are they down to? How many total Miami Heat bodies do we have left tonight?
Yes, so we got the starters, and then Love. So the starters plus whoever it is, that's 6. Love. And then they'll have Alanis Williams, and then they'll have Orlando Robinson. I think he's still questionable. I didn't see the rule out on that. But so that would be 8, I think. I think that's it. I could confirm that, though.
Yeah, I'm rolling through here, and I've got Alondis Williams as a body, Duncan Robinson,
Jamal
Delon
Kane,
Wright,
I forgot.
Yeah, Haywood Highsmith, Jaime Jaquez, Jamal Kane, Caleb Martin, Kevin Love,
Cole
Cole
Swider,
Swider, Bam Adebayo, and then Orlando Robinson, who's questionable. So they've got 10 or 11. They can still play kind of a full rotation should they choose to. We've seen Miami be willing to play pretty tight on the whole, but as somebody noted in chat here, they're on the front end of back-to-back, which is another thing about the scheduling. Even with only 4 games on the slate today, there's only 2 teams that are not on the front or back end of a back-to-back. The front end of a back-to-back, Brooklyn, Miami, Detroit, and the Knicks all on the front end, and on the back end of back-to-backs here, Indiana and Sacramento. So the NBA schedule is just, they're trying to jam a bunch of games in after the long break. You're going to get a lot of back-to-backs in the next week or so. Lanes up a little bit midweek this week and then on to next. Sacramento, they have not filed yet. Anything from last night that you have concerns about on what we might see from Sacramento later on today when they do file?
No, just one of their best wins of the year. Fox, as the chat had noted, De'Aaron Fox played one of his best defensive games. Got talked up after the game by Mike Brown, saying that he was the head of the snake on both ends. Obviously, Sabonis another triple double. I believe that's 5 in his last 6 games, and Mike Brown went off. And I was quite curious to find out that only 6 players in NBA history have 20 triple doubles in a season. It was Westbrook, Harden, Joker, Big O, Wilt, and now Sabonis. So you're talking about like all Hall of Famers, and Mike Brown went off on him not making an All-Star team, which I agree. I mean, Sabonis should have for sure made the All-Star team, but I digress. But obviously the matchup's really good for Keegan. He had 33 points against the Heat earlier this year. We know we like catch and shoot guys. His minutes have been really, really solid there. So pretty good Keegan spot. De'Aaron's back. We saw De'Aaron like really slump for a couple months, but his last handful of games, last 4, he's at 33, 7, and 8. So he's playing great. He's driving more, 18.8 drives per game in this span. Pretty good matchup here, I'd say, against the Miami defense. It has been better. They've been actually really good for the last month. But and then Sabonis is going to run the Bam. So this is more of a Fox spot than a Sabonis spot. Harrison Barnes was really good on Kawhi yesterday. I got the defensive player of the game. But yeah, mostly we're in the situation back. Obviously, Malik Monk's kind of going to do his thing. And actually, they wanted Kevin Huerter played really well, and Mike Brown said he just couldn't sub him back in because Monk was kind of going and playing too well for them. So yeah, should be good to go. Don't really have any rest concerns here. These guys are in pretty good shape, and just traveling from LA to Sacramento is not too bad.
Just reminds me, even thinking about Sabonis, just another Sam Presti draft pick that he once again nailed in Domantas Sabonis. Only spent 1 year in Oklahoma City before he was traded, but I mean, just like, man, they routinely hit on players in the draft. It's really impressive. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, some of the best ways you can support our free content here is by subscribing to this YouTube channel. We're in pursuit of 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season. We are about 300 subscribers short, so anything you can do to help us spread the word on subscribing to this channel, we'd love you to help hit our goals. As always, if you're interested in our content behind the paywall, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA, where you'll find myself and Gary Hartman behind the paywall tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern time, breaking down this 4-game slate from a DFS perspective, the good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, and of course, the flag plants. So join us there behind the paywall tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern. You can also find more information and details on our player props packages. Please read the FAQ if you're interested in subscribing there. Also, if you do want to support this free content and keep it free, the best way to do that is to like this content. So smash that like button, help feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.